Okay, this is Ms. Schreier, and this is your Keystone exam review. So we're going to do 4 days of review, and this is the first day of review. So this is review 1, and this is module 1. So these are questions that are released by the Keystone exam administrators for student use and for teacher use. So let's look at these multiple choice items. So first, it says, which monomial is the greatest common factor of, and then you're given x to the 4th, y to the 8th, and x to the 6th, y to the 4th. Now the problem with greatest common factor is we see this word greatest, and I'm actually going to cross it out because that can be very confusing for students. So we want the greatest common factor, yes. But basically, when we're dealing with variables, the greatest common factor is the smallest power on the variable. So it is the smallest power, not the largest power, which will get you to the wrong answer very quickly in a question that's very easy. So let's look at the powers of x. So we have two powers of x here in the two expressions, x to the 4th power and x to the 6th power. And we want to pick the smaller of the two powers. So this is 4 factors of x, so that's the smaller of the two powers. So we certainly want our answer to have x to the 4th in it. Let's look at the y. So we have y to the 8th and y to the 4th. And the smallest power of the y's is this 4 factors of y here. So as a result, our answer should be x to the 4th and y to the 4th. So when you're finding common factors, the greatest common factor, and you're dealing with variables, it's actually the smallest power of the variable. Let's look at our second problem. So for problem 2, it says Wyatt incorrectly simplified this expression, and his work is shown below. So we have a cube root of x to the 6th, y to the 12th, and a square root of x to the 10th and y to the 4th. So for the top, the index of the cube root is 3. That means that when we apply it to x to the 6th and y to the 12th, we should be dividing by 3. So in other words, you would have 6 divided by 3 and 12 divided by 3. For the bottom, the index is 2, and that means you should be dividing by 2. So you would have 10 divided by 2 and 4 divided by 2 for your exponents. So let's now look at the work. Let's look at line 1. So in line 1, he should be dividing by 3. So dividing by 3 because of this cube root. And he's not. He's dividing by 2, so right out of the gate here, he is doing this incorrectly by dividing by 2. So we've already found the mistake. Let's look at our answer choices. So for our first answer choice, it says going from the given expression to line 1, Wyatt divided the exponents in the numerator by 2 instead of by 3. And that's exactly what he did. So that would be our answer for that problem. Let's move on to another sample. Okay, so we have a local store and it sells different types of fruit drinks for $2 to $4 each. John buys D drinks, so we don't know how many drinks he buys, and he pays $36.53, which value could be the number of fruit drinks that John buys. So let's look at this, and let's look at the extremes of the situation. So we have $2 drinks and we have $4 drinks. So if John bought, let's look at the first answer choice, 6 drinks, of the least expensive kind. So the $2 drinks, it would be 6 times 2 or $12. So he certainly didn't do that. And if he bought 6 drinks of the $4 kind, then 6 times 4 would be $24. And he certainly spent more than that. So that's not right. What about 9? Well, if he bought the cheapest type, it would be 9 times 2, which would be $18, and he spent more than that. And if he bought 9 of the most expensive, it would be 9 times 4, and that would be $36, which is closer, but it's still not it. Moving on, if we look at 12, then 12 times 2 would give us $24. We're getting closer to the amount that he actually spent. And 12 times 4 would give us $48. So that gets us at least in between the two. So that's a possible answer because $36.53 is in between 24 and 48. So that could happen. So that would be our answer. And then we're going to be able to see that 19 would take us out of that range. So let's just look at that so that you understand why we're eliminating it. If we take 19 times 2, we get $38, so we're outside of our range. And then if we take 19 times 4, we're outside of our range, so it's 40 and 36, which is $76, so we're way out of the range because we have to have our range in here. So this is the range that we have. So the answer should be C, $12. Let's go on to number 4. Okay, so this one's pretty algebraic, which is what we do in Algebra 1. So we have a polynomial expression and we look like we're subtracting them. So when you're subtracting polynomial expressions, the easiest way to do it is to put them on top of each other if you can, if it just makes things visually make more sense for you. So let's write our first expression out. So 7x squared y minus 5x plus 8y squared. And we're subtracting, which is the harder type. Because when we're subtracting, we're going to have to change the signs of all of the expressions in the second polynomial. So instead of 3x squared y, we're going to have negative 3x squared y. Instead of positive 2x, we're going to have negative 2x. And instead of negative 6y squared, we're going to have positive 6y squared. And then it's just a matter of adding these together. So 7x squared y and negative 3x squared y is 7 minus 3, and that's 4x squared y's. So we can already see that we're eliminating these two, but there's no need to rush on your Keystone exam because you can take as much time as you like on it. Negative 5x and negative 2x. This is like owing me $5 and owing me $2, so I owe $7 altogether. So it's negative 7x, so I'm already going toward B as my answer choice, and then plus 8 plus 6, which gives us 14y squared. So the answer choice is B. So B. Let's move on to sample number 5. Caden wants to have exactly $600 in his bank account by the end of 12 months. His bank account currently has $84 in it. The bank account does not earn interest. He decides to deposit the same amount each month for the next 12 months. So he could, for example, go ahead and deposit $10 every month. And then after 12 months, he would have 12 times 10 or $120 extra in his account to add to the $84 that he already has in there. So if he saved $10 every month, he would have $204. So he wants to save more than $10 a month. But that's not the question. It says which equation can be used to find the total amount of money, that's this money, X in dollars, he must deposit each month, sorry, that's this money, to reach his goal. Well, we know that he already has $84 in his account. So that would be part of the equation. His goal is the 600. So we're going to go ahead and eliminate this answer choice and this answer choice, because these two end up with him having $684 in his account. So we're doing it for 12 months, and we're going to multiply, and then we're going to add the $84, which we did over here. So answer choice A is the best answer choice. So every month we're multiplying by the amount he deposits, that's X. That's the same amount that he deposits every month for 12 months. And then he's going to add in the $84 that he already has. So answer choice A is your best answer. Number 6, we have Franklin, and he is solving an equation, and his first step is shown below. So when we look at the first equation, and then we look at the second equation, you can see that the negative 3x has moved over here next to the 4x, and this 7 has moved over here with the 10. So things have moved around. So when we look at our different properties, when we're moving things around, like you move from your home to your job or your home from school, they sometimes call that a commute. So when we move things around an equation on the same side of the equation, that's called the commutative property. So here's the commutative property. And then just when we're looking at the other properties, so that you know, the additive property is when you add the same thing to both sides of an equation. The associative property is when you have different groupings or parentheses. And then the identity property is when something equals its times 1 equals itself. So let's look at example number 7. So in example number 7, we have Fernando, and he works at a clothing store. Each week he earns $120, and that's for doing nothing, that's just for showing up, plus 25% commission on any clothing he sells. The equation below can be used to determine the total amount, Y, in dollars, Fernando earns in a week during which he sells X dollars worth of clothing. So X is the dollar amount of clothing he sells, and Y is his total pay. So the $120 is like the base pay. So, I'm sorry, $120 is his base pay. So that's this 120 here. And then he gets 25%. So 25% as a decimal is 0.25. So this is 25% times the amount that he sells. So now that we sort of understand the equation, they ask, what does this ordered pair mean in the context of the situation? So ordered pairs are in the form X, Y. So Y, it says, is giving you in dollars how much he earns in a week, total. So it says here the total amount. So this is telling us that in total, he earned $176.25. So 120 of it was the base pay, and the rest was commission. And then 225 is, it says, the dollar amount of the clothing that he sold. So he sold $225 worth of clothing. Okay, now we just have to sort of go through the answer choices and see which one's correct. So it says first, in a week during which Fernando sells $176, that's not right, because we have that he sold $225. He earns this, and that's basically the opposite. In a week during which he sells this worth of clothing, he earns this much in commission. So this is interesting because this is the total and this is the commission. The commission for this would be $176.25 minus the base pay. So this has nothing to do with the commission. So anything with the word commission in it, I'm throwing away. So now I'm down to A and C is looking better, but let's read it. It says, in a week during which Fernando sells $225 worth of clothing, so that's what we figured out, he earns a total of $176.25. So that makes the most sense. So it is answer C. And let's do one more example. So, Nikki and Emily are buying tickets to a school play for their families. Nikki buys 3 adult tickets. So she's buying 3 adult tickets. And 1 student ticket. And she's going to pay a total of $15. And then we have Emily, who is buying 2 adult tickets and 2 student tickets. And she's going to end up paying $14. And it says the coordinate plane below displays a graph that models this situation, but the labels for the 2 axes are missing. So they ask, what does the point of intersection on the coordinate plane represent? So if we look at the intersection point here, that's the point 4, 3. And we know how many tickets they bought. We just don't know how much they paid for those tickets, but we do know how much they cost total, dependent upon the amount that they bought. So let's see if we make this the adult tickets and this the student tickets price, so $4 and $3. Let's see if that makes both of these situations true. So let's look at the first situation, which is Nikki's situation. So Nikki, and she buys 3 adult tickets, so 3 adult tickets for $4 each, and 1 student ticket for $3 each. And we're asking, does that give us $15? Well, 3 plus 4 is 12, and 12 plus 3 is 15. So it works for that situation. But in order for it to be an intersection point, it has to work for both situations. So let's look at Emily's situation. So for Emily, she bought 2 adult tickets and she bought 2 student tickets. And we're asking, is that equal to $14? Well, 2 times 4 is 8 and 2 times 3 is 6. So 8 plus 6 does equal 14. So basically, that intersection point is the cost of an adult ticket and the cost of a student ticket. Now let's figure out which one is the answer choice. So Nikki pays $3 for each ticket. That's not right. Nikki pays $4 for each ticket. That's not right. We want the prices of the adult and the student tickets. That doesn't even make sense. So the price of each adult ticket is $3. Well, that's not right. It's $4. We just said the price of the adult tickets is $4, so that's gone. So let's see if D, which seems to be our answer choice, is correct. It says the price of each adult ticket is $4. Yep. And the price of each student ticket is $3. That's correct. So this is our answer choice. Okay, that's the end of today's review, and we are going to do more review tomorrow.